Hello everyone, welcome back, and thank you for joining us on the Live Unreal with Glover U podcast, where every week Jeff Glover will dive deep into the questions that you are asking. He understands the challenges you are facing on a day-to-day basis because he still works every day on the front lines of real estate, with him and his team closing over 1,000 homes per year. Last week, we completed killing it with open houses. Today, we will be talking to Jeff Quintin. We will learn from Jeff how to win the morning, own the day, and live unreal. Now, let's hear from Jeff Glover and Jeff Quintin.
The reason why I reached out to this gentleman on this particular topic is a couple things. Number one, I joke when I say you're the world's second best prospector because you actually should be the first because you were doing it before I was, and we both met 12, 15 years ago at an event, and that was our thing, right? You were doing it at a higher level than I was, longer than I was. So technically, your credibility and your experience in that is actually greater than the experience that I had in that. So you actually are the world's greatest prospect.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, I was kidding the whole time. But the reason why I wanted this particular topic is because we get asked all the time, okay, prospecting this, prospecting that, that's like the old way of doing it, all this technology. And by the way, I like having different opinions. It's almost perfect when you go after a technology conversation because the reality is that both of the two combined is what's going to make our businesses better.
For sure.
And so I hear all the time, it's 2019, really? We're still prospecting, we're still role-playing, we're still doing all this stuff? Come on. Like, what about Facebook and Zillow and all this other stuff? And the reality is that even up until this point, the highest producers in the country were and are the ones that mastered this piece of the business. And I know this because through the years I've met a lot of agents that say, gosh, we do this right, we do this right, we do this right, but I never figured out this piece. And if we could just master this piece, I know I could get to the next level. If you would, just share with us a little bit about yourself. Sure. And how you got here.
My name is Jeff Quintin. I live and work in Ocean City, New Jersey, which is southern New Jersey. I've been in the business since 1992, so going on like 26 years now. Always have built my business through prospecting. I got in the business at 19, and 19 years old, I didn't really have a database. My database ended up being my yearbook. And so I went to the high school yearbook and said, okay, well, I know a bunch of kids in high school, but I know their parents. Yep. So specifically what I went out and did is, that was my past clients. That was like my sphere of influence. And I would just go out and look up in the white pages and find out their phone numbers, and I would start to call. And then ultimately, who here is been in the business, say, 20 years or longer?
20 years or more. See, get them real high.
So okay. You guys remember the old MLS books, right? Big, thick books. They came out once a month. So at the end of the month, they would publish the expired listings. And to get the expired listings, you'd have to run to the board and grab the book, and you had to be first there, run back, and then do all the research to find the phone numbers. So ultimately what I did was I started out on prospecting expired listings. And what happened was I'd begin, and I would be able to get these appointments, but then when I showed up at the door, they would like look behind me like, where's your father, right? Because I had this baby face, 19 years old. I'd go there, and I wouldn't get the listings. So I came back to the office after being frustrated a bunch of times. I said, you know what, I got to figure this out. Like, I could talk to people. I wasn't afraid of picking the phone up. But what I had to learn was learn scripts. I had to learn how to communicate at a higher level. I learned how to get a rapport with people. And then what I said to myself was, well, my goal is to master this at a high level over the phone. So that when I did show up to the door to the appointment, 90% of my work would already be done. It was like 90% preparation, 10% execution. So my goal would be as I'd show up, and before that I'd pre-qualified, I'd ask them all the right questions, I learned how to handle any of the objections if needed, over the phone, whatever it was, and I'd literally go in, do my presentation, ask for the contract to be signed, and walk out. And literally, once I learned this down, like after about a couple months of getting, rejected more or less, I think 1 month I took 14 listings, and like the 6th month, I was in the business.
Yep. And by the way, that's interesting similarity with my story because I started in the business in June of 2003, and it took me until basically October to start taking listings.
Yeah.
But October I took 10 or 12 listings, and my first closing was in January, so I went 6 months without that, right? Yeah. So that's just the way it works sometimes in this business.
Yeah. So, that was the whole thing, and Since then, I still to this day call expired listings car past clients and center of influence, and still prospect.
Yep. That is, I can say obviously one of the reasons why you're up here. That's what you're known for. That is your thing. You are a master at doing it, and you're a master at teaching your group to do it with you together. What does that environment look like? How do you guys all do that? It's loud, it's noisy. What does that look like?
So when you walk into our office, and it's like a call center. When you walk in, first of all, we always say is, does your environment match your goals, right? So our environment, when you walk in, it's a storefront downtown. However, there's no signage, no branding. So we can see out, but you can't see in because of the way the blinds are. But you walk in, and there's everyone has their own space, their own desks. They're all stand-up desks, all countertops. You have your script with a flip chart on one side. You have your objection handlers in front of you. We have 2 phones, old school headsets that come down that has a microphone here and a microphone here, right, headset. And we use auto dialers. And that's about it. There's no chairs in there. We have no chairs. Everyone stands up. Yep. And we got music playing. I mean, any moment in time, there's, Biggie or Tupac, who knows, rocking it. I mean, it's good, right? It's
Eminem.
good.
We're fans of Eminem.
It's for sure. There's some energy going, and that's the environment we're in. So when you walk in, it's a place where there's no other reason, there's nothing else to do other than lead generate and prospect. So we're doing that every single day.
But isn't that distracting? I mean, other people can hear me, and it's noisy. How does that affect the production of the agents in that environment?
In fact, the energy is infectious. I mean, so we have a lot of people come in and shadow us, and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just take this back to my office and duplicate it, right? Because you see, and it's just that, you'll hear, Frank or Rob or Dave on the phone, and they're closing, and then this other one's closing on something, but the other one's hearing what's going on the other side, so they're picking up on each other all the time, and they're coaching each other.
So it's almost like contagious.
For sure.
And you're hearing things that maybe you don't have, at the tip of your tongue every single time, but somebody else is using it. Oh, I'm taking that one.
Yeah.
Right? And how long has that environment been happening in your world?
So what's interesting was somewhere in the early 2000s, it was somewhere around probably like 2000. I think we were roughly around, 100 transactions or whatever it was. And the office that I was in was getting renovated. So I had to move out of an office to another office, which is off-site. And we went to that location, but I had my staff stay in what would be the market center, the office at the time.
Yep.
And then me and my agents went to a different office, and we set up shop upstairs where no one was as a prospecting room. That year, we went I think it was like 80 deals or something like that. That year, we went from like 80 deals to 125. When we figured out to have the right environment actually outside of where everybody else was, right? And then from then, we kept it going. So since 2000, we've always had our own space. We always had it set up that way.
Yeah.
And even in the office that once it got renovated, we built out our own space as a prospecting room.
Yep. So you basically eliminated the physical distractions that surround us in everyday real estate offices.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
for sure. And I'll give you some crazy stories. I mean, so the office that was built and renovated, our staff assistants would be outside of the room, and then what we did was, and I don't know, this is what we did, but we had a 2-sided deadbolt, right?
Two-sided deadbolt.
Two-sided deadbolt. So the staff would actually lock us in. The key was on the outside. You were not allowed to leave until you handed in underneath the door your contact sheet. So if you didn't make 30 contacts, you weren't allowed to leave. You couldn't get out.
Okay, that's some pretty serious accountability.
For sure, right?
Did somebody at least have a master key somewhere? What?
Key was always in the door on the outside.
Wow.
Couldn't get out.
Interesting.
Yeah, they had to let you out. Hey, it's discipline, right?
Yeah.
So Kate says, discipline equals freedom. That's what it was about.
Yep. And the reality is there's, and I know that's a true story because I've heard you share that before. The reality is it made everyone better because of that.
Right.
Because you eliminated the options of doing anything else and just focused on that one activity. And oh, by the way, when that activity is complete, now you can move on with whatever else you need. You slide it under the door, you knock, and they open it for you.
Exactly. And we talk about that. I mean, still to this day, we're talking about mastering your morning from the time you wake up until 12 noon. And that's the thing we figured out that if you can master that time you wake up to 12 noon, or let's say you start prospecting at 9 to noon, 3 hours, head down, super focused, no distractions, your business it becomes fluid, easy.
Yeah, but what if I have an inspection in the morning? What if I have a closing? What if a buyer wants to see a house?
Yeah, I mean, that will happen. But what's interesting is once you become committed to that schedule and then you provide that schedule to your database or your clients, they'll adjust around you, right? So, you don't dictate, for example, if you need to go to get knee surgery. You don't call the hospital or the surgery center and say, hey, I got to get my knee done and I want to come in tomorrow at 10. You have to go by an appointment, right?
Yep.
And we look at our morning as that is our appointment. Whether you have in your calendar and say, I have a 9:30, I have 11:30, like we already have pre-booked appointments, which is prospecting.
Yeah.
That's the way we look at it. Like I'm already booked.
Yep.
So if a buyer did want to go look at a home, I'm sorry, I'm already with clients. And ultimately they will actually work around your schedule when you make a commitment to it. And then what happens is you get so committed to that, they don't even ask anymore, right? And then on your voicemail says, I'm sorry, I'm out looking for buyers and sellers right now. I return calls at 12 noon. Please leave your number where I can reach you. Right? So all your voicemails, everything you got going on, you're letting your clients know and future pacing them that if you give a listing, hey, you know what? If you try to call me at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be actually prospecting for buyers for your home. You won't get me. But I do return my calls at 12 to 12:30.
So setting the expectations in advance.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember back in the day, and I don't know if you ever did this, and so I'm curious, so I'm asking you the question. It was common for agents that did a lot of prospecting that you would actually give your client, you would go on appointments and say, here's a copy of my schedule, and I would encourage you to ask the other agents you're interviewing for a copy of theirs.
Absolutely.
Do you do that?
For sure.
You still do that?
Still this day, yeah.
Wow.
We actually show them, this is the amount of time we take during our day to go lead generate for buyers for your home.
Yep.
And we give them the schedule. That's what we do. If you need anybody, we have a staff, and that's cool, but if you need anything at all, Lauren is our listing manager. Yep. Feel free, she'll be there for you. But if you call me, I'm going to be with a client.
So let's shift gears a little bit. Obviously, we know, the title was King of Prospecting. How did you get to a point to where somebody like us could call you the King of Prospecting? Honestly, what did you do to actually be able to get to that point where you've mastered it? What does that look like?
Well,
Because, and think, if I'm in the room and I've either A, never done it, or I've done it and kind of so-so, or I'm doing it currently and not getting good results, I would want to know, like, okay, dude, what did you do to master this stuff?
Well, I think that, like anything, to master anything, they say it takes 10,000 hours, right? And so it's the consistency of lead generating and prospecting every day over a long period of time, and it becomes that accumulation effect. Just doing a sustained effort of an existing activity long time. So, you become known for that when you do it every day. Like, here's the deal. I mean, so when I got involved in having a coach, right?
Yep.
Well, the way I used to do business originally, I would be working 80, 90 hours a week. And I was doing good because I was hustling. I was selling on personality. Not so much skill-based, right? It was all personality. I was doing okay, right?
Yep.
Running. And yet, then when I got involved in a coaching organization, they said, well, hey, look, you're doing good where you are, but if you really want to get to the next level, we need to put in place, you have to learn scripts. You have to learn what to say and how to deliver.
Yeah.
You have to build some structure. You have to get some coaching and keep some accountability around it. So all that stuff came together, and then the time blocking of the morning.
One thing I heard in that, which was AHA, and it's obviously been important to us, learn not just what to say, but how to say it.
Right.
Because I feel that so many, companies you can go to, they give good scripts, but you actually have to learn how to use them, right?
It's important.
So how did you learn how to use them and master it through, what did the how look like?
So, first, in the days of learning scripts, going to events like this, going to coaching programs that teach it the right way, learning and listening to language of sales, and then, everything from, if you really want to get good with a script.
By the way, language of sales is neuro-linguistic programming, NLP.
Yes, NLP. So, if you really want to get good at scripts, three things. One, you have to physically write them out. You don't type them, you write them. Between hand and paper, you write your script. Secondly, you chant the script. Okay, so you actually chant it out loud. And then third, you record.
What does chanting out loud mean?
So you sit there in front of a mirror standing up and you would say, when do you plan on moving? When do you plan on moving? When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address, right? Yep. You're going to go on and chant that script out loud. And it's the same thing like this. Like we all learned the ABCs, and we learned it because of the song. We kind of chanted it out loud. A, B, C, D, right? If I said any of you guys A, B, C, D,
E, F, G.
you know the script.
J, K.
You know the script. You wrote it. You chanted it,
Yeah.
right? You've said it over and over. Same way with the script. So you chant them, and then you record them. So you record them in your voice. And you get real good by recording them over Baroque music, like we used to do, which is like classical music, and that helps you speed up your learning and embeds into your subconscious quicker. Studies for that. But anyway, so those three things you get good at, and then you get the consistency part. So, our team and the activity of prospecting, like, we do it every single day. It's just what we do. It's kind of like those that go to the gym and work out. If you don't, your day feels different. You do it every day. And there's only one day that we actually didn't prospect fully, and that was on September 11th, 2001. Because we got a call that day, and it was like, hey, look, and I live in New Jersey, so right near the city, and you might want to turn on the TV and see what's going on. And so we shut it down.
Yep.
But since then, every single day since then, not a day missed.
Never missed a day.
So that, over time, makes you experienced, and
Yep.
you can master it.
So what you shared, the writing out, the chanting, the role playing, the listening back, the videotaping, and then critiquing, I mean, that's a lot of work. And we're busy. We got stuff, I got a lot of things going on. I got some houses to show. I got an appointment already this coming weekend.
Yeah.
Where did you find the time for that? A, and B, how do you have the discipline to stick to that? Because it's probably the least exciting thing in this business, which is quite honestly why most coaching and training companies don't even talk about it anymore.
Right.
Because agents don't like to take action on it. So where do you find the time to do it? It sounds like a lot of work.
So it's about it's practicing, right? It's honing your skill, practicing and learning that craft.
Is it scheduled?
It's scheduled for sure. I mean, I'll give you something like this. And you might think this is corny and whatever, but like every morning, if you take a shower, you have 15, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever it is. And back in the day, we would laminate our scripts, put them in the shower on the tile wall, and then I would read them. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's time, right? Crazy. Yep. We would then listen to on the ride to the work, or ride to the office, on home, whatever it may be. I used to have a cassette tape back in the day on Walkman, Sony Walkman. I listened to them while I was sleeping, right? Just embed it in your subconscious over and over again. So you find time, and then you got to schedule it, and then you got to practice. So, I used to have 10 role play partners. I'd have 5 on the East Coast in the morning, 8:30. So I'd role play 8:30 to 9, and then I would go at 11:30 to 12 on someone on the West Coast because it was 8:30 their time. I did that for years. So twice a day.
Twice a day, and how long were those calls?
Half hour.
Half hour.
Yeah, I would go like 15 minutes on one script, and then the partner would do his 15, or gal would do 15, and then maybe like 10, and then we would critique each other.
Yep.
That you did great, that was great delivery, try to work on this.
So you did 1 hour a day, right? So half hour in the morning, half hour later in the morning. For how many years? I mean, at some point, right, you get pretty good at this stuff, and you can start dialing it back. Or no, did you not?
I mean, yeah, I certainly dialed it back, but maybe to just 5 times instead of 10 times a week, once a week.
And so
once a day.
How long did you go 1 hour a day?
Gosh.
How many years?
A long time. I mean.
Years?
Years. 10 years probably, at least. Long time.
10 years, 1 hour a day.
Yep, long time. I mean, even we had accountability partners that, we'd have them at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, accountability partner. And sometimes it'd be role playing on that. Just having accountability of, here's what our goals are, here's what I'm committed to today. And then that would be like first thing in the morning. Sometimes it would be on the way home. Well, I said I was going to do this, and here's what I did.
Yep. Awesome. What else can you tell us? Prospecting.
It's just, I think that we all prospect at some level or some way. It's the art of communication. If you're going to be selling, we're salespeople, right? So there's a sale that's being made, and it's a matter of us delivering and being able to convince or convert. And so if you get really good at this, you can start to predict your business. Your business can become duplicatable year after year after year, and that's what's been nice. Like your business, because of this, here's what's cool. We can turn on the money machine in a minute. And I got so good, like, not speaking egotistically, but for every 8 contacts I made, I could get a listing. So literally, if the average commission is, let's call it 10 grand, whatever.
Not in this market, but in your market.
5 grand, whatever it is, yeah. But think about it, like, ring, 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 hello, hello, hello. On the 8th time, deliver a script and actually get a listing. $3,000, $5,000.
High paid telemarketer.
That's what it is. I was, for sure. Yeah. That's
And
what I called myself.
Did you think of yourself as a telemarketer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you proud of that?
Yeah, for sure. That's what we do. That's what we are. Whether you're not prospecting based, but at some point you have to communicate. At some point you got to follow up. At some point you got to have a human conversation.
Yeah.
And that's prospecting.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for taking your time to join Jeff Glover and Jeff Quintin today on the Live Unreal with Glover U podcast. To get started on winning the morning, owning your day, and living unreal, take the real estate self-assessment. After you complete the assessment, a member of Glover U will get on a call with you to create an action plan to improve your score. Go to www.gloveru.com/self. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. Search for Live Unreal with Glover U on iTunes, Podbean, or Spotify, and subscribe today. Until next time, remember, eliminate the option of doing anything else and focus on one activity.